A quick favor before we start, if you love the Blueprint podcast, please rate and review us wherever you listen. It makes a huge difference. Thanks and enjoy the episode. Before we begin, a quick disclaimer. This episode contains candid discussions of trauma, addiction, violence, and sexual assault. The stories are real and may be triggering. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to the Blueprint Podcast, where we throw out the old blueprint so you can become who you were always meant to be. I'm your host, Jason Smith, and if you haven't already, make sure you click the subscribe button and share this podcast with your friends on social media and tag me in it at JBirdFit. Today, I have a very special guest for you, Ken Miller. Ken is a speaker, author, resilience expert, and founder of Denali FSP and Evolution. He began as an Ivy League scholar at Dartmouth, but life derailed him into addiction, homelessness, and prison. From the depths of rock bottom, he clawed his way back to rebuild a life defined by truth, service, and leadership. His memoir, Becoming Ken, One Black Man's Journey from Ivy League to Prison and Back Again, shows us how radical honesty and self-forgiveness turn trauma into purpose. Ken knows firsthand that redemption is real, and today, he's here to help us all see it. Ken Miller, welcome to the Blueprint Podcast.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to having you too. There's so many things that I think are so important here with what you talk about in terms of self-forgiveness, the power of mentorship, and of course, having unshakable faith. But it's also a story of recognizing that no matter where you are in life, don't count yourself out just yet, because anything truly can happen. Ken, what was it like for you growing up, and what were the early influences that shaped who you are today?
Well, what was it like growing up? Yeah, I grew up in upstate New York, so I'm a country boy. In fact, where I grew up was called Rural Delivery 1. That was our address. So I grew up in the country and in the early 70s. And then in 1975, I moved to Anchorage, Alaska. So that's physically where I grew up. I grew up in a normal nuclear family. There was a mother, a father, and I was the only child because I had been adopted at age 6. So my first 6 years, I was a foster child. Then I was adopted by Irene and Sam Mill. My mother and father were professionals, and they tried to do their best to raise me to the best of their abilities. I had some difficulties in my childhood. I had some behavior problems. A lot of this is a byproduct of my home life and a byproduct of being a foster child. But anyway, I did well in school. Academically, I did very well. Ended up going to Dartmouth College. I was a National Merit Scholar. I was accepted to Harvard. That all happened when I was 17. And then when I was 12 years old, moved to Anchorage, Alaska, and I grew up in that environment, which to me was like a big city. You know, it's 250,000, but that was a big city because I'd come from the country.
And so what was it like for you growing up in Alaska like that? That had to be amazing.
Yes, it was. It was amazing. And I'm so glad I grew up there. So much we are a product of our environment. Doesn't mean we cannot change either our behavioral or really our future or even our present because of the past that we had, whether it was good, bad, or indifferent. The growing up in Anchorage allowed me so many more opportunities. That was the great thing about Alaska. Alaska, we moved there in 1975. They had just built the Alaska pipeline. And so it was real vibrant, really growing and really robust. And there were some challenges when we first moved up there. But the thing that I loved about Alaska, Alaska really didn't care if you were black, white, Hispanic. They don't care. Can you do the job? Because we need people. And a lot of people don't want to live in Alaska. So I dealt with that. And then my mom said, when we moved up there, we're going to be up there for a while, so you might as well learn to skate and ski. So I learned how to downhill ski, and I learned how to ice skate. And I was a right winger and played a little hockey and just had a wonderful school. Great school. I went to Bartlett High School in Anchorage, Alaska. Great public school. So it was a great opportunity for my parents, great opportunity for other relatives that we brought up at a later point, and many of them are still there.
It's interesting when you talk about some of the behavior problems that you had early on, because I think so many of us as adults, we tend to be a little immature in the perception of those experiences because we didn't have the language then. We had the knowledge and experience that we had at the time. And that's, of course, the lens that you carry with you into adulthood. But as you do the work, as you grow, as you expand, as you develop, you gain new knowledge. And if you don't take the time and opportunity to kind of look back at those past experiences and start to paint it with the knowledge and experience that you have today, you might miss the opportunity to grow and feel more mature in your own process.
I agree with you 100%. And I've looked at all of my past adverse situations and or behavior to have a understanding of why I did what I did. The why is there's two parts of that. One, we can take that why and then hopefully ameliorate the repercussions of what we did. And what I mean by that is internally or emotionally, I don't have to bring up the same feelings from past events. The other thing is that it just gives me a basis of truth to be grounded in. And it also allowed me to forgive others because then I can understand why they did the things that they did. And I can. And there was some, again, adverse, which is a very light word, situations that came up with me in my journey.
Just the amount of fear,
Mm,
shame,
mm,
guilt. What were some of
mm.
the steps that you found useful to you to help you overcome those feelings?
One, I had to throw light on them. So I'm big on this. I talk to a lot of guys. I mentor men all over the country. When I'm talking with them, I say life is like a large house. You go up to the second floor and there's a long hallway that has doors. And those doors have written on there 1976. They have written on there mom shooting. They have written on there going to the penitentiary the first time. And you look at the door and you have fear or trepidation to go into that door, turn on the lights and observe the set pieces of that experience. And what I took, and it took time, it took years. I went in there and I opened up all those doors and went in there and threw some light on those dark, scary rooms. That's what I did. And I can go into specifics, but that was so important that I did that because, again, what it does is two things. One, we try to eliminate or try to push down bringing up that memory. Okay. I'm not going to go there in my mind. Or two, the memory, for whatever reasons, is triggered and comes up. And now I have a negative emotional experience from a past event that happened 20, 30, 40 years ago. And I don't want to have those in my present, those negative feelings toward a past event, whether they've been done to me or I've done them to someone else.
I think that's a really difficult experience for a lot of people because it
Mm,
lives in the subconscious. You don't know that it's present within you a lot of the times. It's a somatic experience, so it's within your nervous system, and it might only pop up at certain time periods in your life because in other time periods you might feel really secure and capable and competent and confident with who you are, and then other times you're feeling a little bit more insecure, and that's when these other feelings start to manifest and bubble up, and there's something underneath the surface that maybe you can't quite name. So for somebody who's having that experience where it's more in their subconscious, how do you help them begin to draw that out?
So this is what I do very specifically. I start with what was the action? Okay. If there was an action that came up in your life. Okay. I came home and I kicked the dog. Okay. That's the action. What was the feeling behind the action? Anger. Okay. Let's peel away another one. What's behind the anger? And it's always fear, always fear. I've never been able to articulate an anger that's not based on fear. That's me. That's my truth. Okay. What is fear? Fear is the future anticipation or expectation of pain. That's all that is. What is the pain? What is the pain? And this takes time many times. You can need 10 minutes or a half hour or years. But
Years.
for pain. So I had a fundamental pain in my life that a lot of my actions are based on. And my fundamental pain very simply was that I would die alone. That's it. I would die alone because I had been abandoned as a child. I always thought that I would be abandoned and would be alone. And I didn't like that feeling as a 4-year-old, and I didn't like it as an adult. So that was a fundamental core issue. And then the other thing, once we get to the pain, what is the pain? The pain is that I will be rejected. Okay, cool. Now, what is the self talk? This is real important. What is the self talk? Self talk is that I'm not lovable. The self talk is that I'm not likable. The self talk is that I am not worthy of your friendship, love, whatever it may be, companionship. And then again, and then underneath that is that core issue for me, at least, was that I would die alone.
I
That's
think a
how I
lot
do
of
it.
think a lot of people share in that experience of the fear of abandonment,
Mm-hmm.
that what has been given to us will be taken away. And there's a strong fear associated with that rejection that you're going to experience from that other person or whatever it is that is the object of your desire in that moment. The other thing that it does is it leads a lot of people into substances and ways of coping with those internal feelings and those experiences. And I was hoping we could start with your time at Dartmouth. And what was that experience like for you? And where did you envision your life going at that time?
So I thought I'd be the first black senator from Alaska. Okay. Wasn't thinking president because I'm from the 70s, but at least I'd be the first black. Other people thought that could happen. I had the skill sets externally. I had a certain look. I had the intelligence. I had the ability to articulate. And so I was going to become a lawyer, then a politician, because most politicians are lawyers,
Lawyers.
at least at the national level. Then I go off. The difficulty is I went off to college. I was 17 years old, very immature. I was broken. That's the term I use today. I was broken going into college. I'd come off a tremendous amount of fear. My last half of my senior year in high school, my mother and I hid out from my father because my father and I had gotten into a physical altercation that the police had to be called. And we moved out and he ended up a few years later shooting my mom 6 times and came to shoot me. That's my father. Okay. So just to give you a little basis there. So I'd come off of, again, 4, 5, 6 months of fear, real fear. And I go off to college, 17, very immature. I didn't even have a driver's license, had never had a girlfriend. I was immature and I was confused. I was confused about a lot of things. And I was confused about being black. I was confused about sexuality. I was confused about, did I even deserve to be in Dartmouth? There was a lot. So I came there. You have to picture me. I had a jerry curl, which is like this curl that's put into my hair that had gone out of style 2 years before on the East Coast. I didn't know that. So I go there. I have a jean jacket that has all heavy metal bands written on it because I loved heavy metal music. I had my Van Halen, Black Sabbath, Judas Priest, all that. And with the jerry curl, and they didn't know what to do with me. They just knew I was the black guy from Alaska. So it became very easy for me to join a gang. And the gang we call a fraternity, but it's a gang. That's what it is. It's a bunch of individuals that you have some commonality and or sense of safety in. And then also, you got to understand, in high school, I had a half a beer on senior skip day, they call it. A half a beer. That's all I had drank. And then I was exposed to alcohol. And within a month, I was a full blown alcoholic within a month. But I was broken. I was in a lot of depression. I missed my little girlfriend that I had back in Anchorage, and a lot of dark days. And so I manifested that by cutting. I used to cut myself, I burn myself, ice picks into the hand. But this is just me hurting. And I couldn't understand truth. I couldn't understand reality. I couldn't understand God. And therefore, I had to try to make the pain feel real. And I've met other cutters, and I'm not going to go into that too deeply, but a lot of it is trying to feel real because I just didn't understand this world. And here I am at an Ivy League school. And they had counseling, and I went once or twice to the counselor, but it wasn't cool to get counseling. It wasn't cool to go to AA or NA. That's not cool at 17. But I did go to my first AA meeting at age 18, 6 months after I had my first drink. That's who I was. That's just my first year. So that was done.
Hey, Blueprint listeners, if today's conversation resonated with you and you're ready to truly unlock your own personal transformation, I invite you to explore the Self-Discovery Blueprint. This is where we dive deep into the strategies and insights you need to understand who you are, clarify your purpose, and build the life you're truly meant for. It's the comprehensive guide to your next level growth. You can find out more by visiting my Stand store, link in bio, or in the show notes. And all of that is absolutely incredible, especially when you look at the loss of your mother and to be the age that you were and to have that experience and then to not feel particularly supported in that experience as well. I can imagine
Let me
you
correct.
feeling
My apologies. Let me correct. He shot her 6 times, hit her 5 times. She survived. When she passed away 20, 30 years ago, she still had 2 bullets in her because they decided not to take those bullets out. They took out 3 and she survived. So I just want to make sure nobody thinks that she died from that shooting. It still was easily the most traumatic thing for her. She never was the same, never. And it also, I dealt with it very poorly. And I'd love to talk about how I dealt with that. Since we're talking about, yeah, I'll talk about it now. So this is what happens. The way that I dealt with trauma is by pretty much going numb and having no emotional manifestation of the trauma. Okay. Because my father was one, you can't cry if I'm beating you. Okay. No tears. That's like a learned script. And again, I'm on like looking on the outside at this stuff happening to me. And I'm like, this is not real. So what happens is that I get a call from my mother's secretary. She ran the nursing programs for the college. She was the dean of nursing. And she said, Ken, Sam shot Irene. Sam shot Irene. And I'm like, okay, where is she? She's at Providence. You need to get over here. I was like, okay, no problem. I walk up to my boss and say to him, Bobby, do you mind if I take a little time off? My mom has been shot. She's at the hospital. He said, of course. He knew a little bit of my situation with my dad. And he's like freaking out. Yes, of course. You take whatever you need. You think I need to go with you? I'm like, no, go. I go there and my mom's lying on a gurney. I'll never forget this, with a sheet up to her neck. Now she's worried about me because while he's shooting her, he went to her job, shot her, and he said, I'm gonna kill that SOB. I'm next. And so she thought that I had been shot. I'm her only child. She adopted me, her only child. And she was so relieved to see that I was all right. And I'll never forget the sheets over her before this is pre-op and the blood's coming through the sheets. I'll never forget that. I said, anything I can do with this exact same tone? Anything I can do, Mom? And she said, grab her shoes because they had cut her shoes off and grab her purse. So I grabbed that and I said, okay, Mom. And I turned around, went back to work like nothing had happened. That's how I dealt with trauma. I saw a gentleman, I call him a dude, get ran over by a truck. Literally, he was on a moped and got ran over physically. No emotion, none. Walked up to him, me and Gary Witherspoon at Dartmouth College. I'll never forget that. He freaking out. Anyway, that's how I dealt with trauma. And it's not the way to deal with it. It hurt my mother. Years later, we were in a family group at one of my treatment centers. And she said how much that hurt her. She thought I didn't love her. I love my mom more than she's passed away. I loved her more than any human being I've probably ever loved, including my wives. I was my mama. And it's a different love, let's say, but I couldn't show it. I had to be cool, calm, and collected. And that's not how, and then you internalize all that. Because I didn't cry, I didn't get angry, I internalize all that, and it just harbors in you. And this is another thing I talk about a lot is displacement. I displaced it other places. I'm hurting. So I'm gonna hurt you physically or emotionally, more emotionally. I've hurt a lot of people emotionally. My mouth.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
You know, trauma is one of those things you don't get to choose the way that you respond to it. We all have a nervous system reaction to the things that we experience in real time. Having worked crime scene, I'm deeply familiar with a lot of the experiences that you're sharing with me. And you tend to go to a different place in the back of your mind. But I was already pre-wired for that type of response that you almost dissociate to a certain degree to be able to navigate the situation that you're currently in. Now, the problem that you run into is you also have to be able to bring yourself out of that experience as well. And if you don't, then you do run into the situations that you found yourself in with not only hurting yourself, but hurting other people in that process. As it goes, hurt people hurt people.
Yeah. Yeah. Broken people, great people. The other thing is that we're given, and I'm a big one on scripts, big one on scripts. And we're given a script as a man. And I'm just gonna say it, as a Black man, I'm given a script that I can't cry. I can't cry. And I lived with that for 20, 30 years. I've had people die, people right in front of me. Oh, you've been the scenes. And then once I healed or began the healing process, there was a lot of tears that needed to be shed for things that had happened to me, things that had happened to people that I knew, and things I had done against to others. I needed to. Now, boy, you give me the right movie, Braveheart, Gladiator, that last scene when he's walking through the wheat field.
Through the
Wow.
heather, yeah.
Oh, I love that. It's one of my favorite scenes of all movies. I love. And I love also, he would say, I love men sacrificing for other men. So military movies, Saving Private Ryan, something like that. Just men, just a bigger cause. And that we will have the courage to do the right thing or to make that sacrifice. Anyway, I cry now. That's what I'm trying to say. I cried. No problem. I almost cried already.
For everybody listening, what was it that allowed you to have that shift within yourself to be able to reach that emotional state where you can cry?
I had to allow myself that. I had to say that's all right. And this is probably with counseling. I had to say it's all right. And I had to do it. You got to do the first one. And I'm just literally thinking, where was the first one that I did that? I can't think of it right off the top of my head, but it probably was in counseling in prison because that's when I started taking away the power of the secret. Again, something that I believe is real important is taking away the power of the negative secret. And I spent a lot of time doing that, going into those rooms, because those rooms there were some secrets in that room that I didn't want anybody to know about. And because of that, they made me feel shame-based and devalued. And that's a personal opinion of myself. So my self-esteem was affected by these secrets that I carried around and the fear that you would find out about my secrets.
And so that was actually a question that popped up on one of my lives today, where someone was asking, how do you overcome the feelings that are associated with having those types of secrets in your life that you don't share with other people? So then you then also feel like a fraud when you're interacting with other people because you know you're being inauthentic, but you live in such a fear state that if I share anything of my personal experience with you, it goes back to that fear of abandonment. You're just going to reject me. You're going to pull away from me. You're not going to accept me, and I'm going to be left alone.
And that's going to affect your self-esteem because that's a self-estimation of your worth. Okay. And what it is, like you said, you put on a persona, a facade, a mask. But the difficulty is first of all, it's very energy consuming. because you got to remember the lie. So much easier to remember a truth than a lie. Believe it. Until the lie becomes a truth. Well, that's a whole nother, we can go down that rabbit hole. But the key thing with letting go of secrets is, at least for me, number one, we have to bring the secret up into our consciousness. Number two, in time, it can be done before or after the physical part. I'll tell you what the physical part. You have to forgive yourself. That's why it's a secret, because you have to forgive yourself of the secret. And then there's the physical part. You have to bring the secret into the light. And that's when you find someone that you can trust, sit down and say, hey, this is my secret. Okay. You don't have to say the secret. This is my truth. This is just the facts of this situation. And I want to share it with you, but it has to be someone you can trust. And the people who are professionals, that's their job. There are pastors or people in the clergy. That's what they do. They hear secrets and they can help you with the forgiveness. Okay. And then once, at least for me, this is where, so some people, all you got to do is one person. Me, I had to take mine from one person to small groups to larger groups. And now I speak from the stage about my secrets. They're not secrets anymore, but I use it as a tool to help others.
No, I love that. Once you reveal the secret to someone else who has the ability to fully witness you without rejecting you in that process, it sets you free from all the emotions that have been tied to that feeling or that thought or the emotion that's associated with all of that. So what were some of the secrets that you've revealed on stage?
The main one, let's talk about the main one. The main secret that I had and harbored for years was I was a male prostitute. I was a prostitute. I turned tricks with other men for crack or money. Either one I'll take. And the crazy, I know they say, I'm not gay. That's not my choice. And a life partner is a man. I'm married to a woman. I've been married 3 times. I'm married to a woman. I'm very happy in my marriage. But I was so shame-based about that because that's the lowest thing you can be. Other than a child molester, that's the lowest thing you could be, is a male prostitute. So I was doing that, and I was hiding it on the streets. I hid it in the penitentiary. There were people that knew, obviously. A lot of the working girls knew, because I'm one of them. But I had to let go of that and take away the power. So I talk about that. And then the other thing, another one I talk about, I was raped. I was raped by another man. I put myself in a situation where I was raped. No, wait, I'm putting. So I know what it feels like to take a 2-hour, 3-hour shower and still feel dirty. I know what that feels like. I know why. And I know how you feel coming out of that situation. You can never get clean. At least then, when that happened, I was young. I was like 18, again, alcohol related, but I put myself into that situation. Yeah. I've used it in a positive way now. I was on a panel with the DA, FBI, and survivors of childhood sexual abuse, and I was the pimp. And I spoke of that. And they allowed me to share that. Of course, I'm clean and sober and everything. And it helped to give the audience an understanding of my role and what I did. And again, you're talking about shame and guilt. It's interesting. I don't have any shame anymore, but I still have guilt. I have not made amends. And so but I've tried. That's my truth. I have tried because everyone that I can make amends to, this was another big part of getting over shame, is making amends to people that you have hurt, and all the ones that the legal system allows, because I have some victims I cannot make amends to, can't contact them, so I can't make amends to them. And it's burglary and violence, no sexual things, but burglary.
And so when you do public speaking, who do you generally speak to, or who's the audience?
Corporations and associations, the ones that usually will hire me for that. I also speak to, and I have spoken smaller groups. I'll go into juvenile corrections. I love doing that, going to juvenile because I want to talk to, because this is the crazy part. They look at me and they're like, who is this square
Yeah.
coming in? And then I go to their language. Believe me, I can use profanity, but I have true stories. And they can tell by the details, I've been there and I've done that. Okay. And I also say, I always tell them, man, go to court view. Look, look me up. Okay. 3 times. Convicted felon. Those are the ones they caught me for. Now, again, it's nothing to be proud of, any way, shape, or form, but that's my experience, my truth. And if you don't like me because of what I've done, even though I've been clean and sober 21 years and I give back consistently and constantly to give back, then I'm cool with that. I got a lot of people that like me, believe it or not. A lot of people, they didn't believe it or not. There are a lot of people that like me. There are many people that love me. I'm a good person. This is what I want to say this. I heard something in 1997. I was in an AA meeting and I'm on the streets and I'm struggling. And a gentleman said from the podium, I am a kind and gentle man today. And I damn near fell out of my seat because I had never heard a man say that. I'm talking about clean, sober AA. I'm a kind and gentle man today. I am a kind and gentle man today. I am. I haven't threatened anybody in 15 years. I haven't put hands on anybody in 21 years. That is growth. That is growth.
I like what you're saying in regards to speaking to the different audiences, that you don't look like what you've been through. And I think it's easy for the audience to see somebody up on a stage or through social media and different interactions, and we make a lot of assumptions about who that person may or may not be, or the challenges that they face. And it's really easy to dismiss a lot of those experiences because you just don't look like all the things that you went through. And then we start that game of comparison and comparing my experience to your experience and the challenges that I've faced, and you don't know how hard I've had it. I just think it's such an interesting perception that so many people can have, that as you grow, as you develop, as you evolve, as you change, as you become more impactful in your own life and then in the lives of others, that you do take on a completely different way of being. You show up differently, you act differently, you speak differently, you're more confident, you've released some of the anger, the blame, the shame, the frustration, and people can be sitting on this other side not knowing how to get to that place because it seems so far away from where they are today. So to the person that feels like they are so far away from where you are right now, and they might perceive you as not looking like the things that you've come from, what would you tell that person?
I would tell them, we say, don't judge a book by its cover. I hate cliches. I shouldn't even said that one because they're an excuse for lazy thinking. But what I would say to them is, within reason, allow that person to present themselves. Give people an opportunity. But having said that, also be cautious. Don't go down a dark alley, 3 guys leaning up against the wall, looking not good. Yeah, there's a reason why you think that might be potentially you're in a dark alley late at night. Don't go there, okay? Because again, that's something biology allows us to make assumptions because we don't have the time to think deeply on everything. We don't. A saber-toothed tiger is running after you. You don't want to start thinking about how long its teeth are. Gee, is that 4 inches or 5 inches? No, you need to climb up that tree, okay? Because you don't have time to think intellectually. Again, I'm going a little off of what you asked. Fear is good. I have no problem with fear, okay? Anger in the right place is good. It's just, what are you getting angry about? One of the things I've been speaking about a lot lately and talking about a lot lately is respect. And what is respect to you? Then the other one I talk about is, what are your trigger words? I had 3 of them. You called me any of those words on the street or in the penitentiary, automatically, it was violence. Automatic. There was no time in between, and it's so interesting. Just 2 days ago, or I think it was 2 days ago or yesterday, something happened that was so disrespectful in almost any man's world, anywhere in the country. If you spit on another man, I'm talking about spit in his face, it's automatic violence. Anywhere. Okay. I've had it happen to me and I got into an altercation. Okay, got in a fight. Okay. But my thing is I had to go inside and I took time to understand, what does these words mean? And more importantly, what is the self-talk that you're saying? If he calls you a punk, why do you have to fight over some vibrations of your vocal cords? Okay. Why? And I took away all the power. Anybody can call me any of those words and I would not blink. I'd be like, why are you doing that? Or I would turn around and leave this situation. The only thing you can't do is hurt or threaten my family. That's it. Other than that, I'm cool.
So what does respect mean to you?
Oh, I know exactly what it means. Respect, and I'm in the process of writing a book on respect and disrespect, a full book on this. But respect means acknowledgement of a person's position or stature within a community, period. That's what it means. It could be, I've been disrespected in the corporate boardroom by something either someone said and or did to me that did not acknowledge. I'm a board member just like you, just because most of the boards I've been on, I'm like the only Black or one of a couple. And you may not even, some people disrespect, they don't even know they're disrespecting. They don't even know they're disrespecting. And what I had to do is take away the power of words that meant disrespect, because what we end up having is a script. And we've talked about this a little bit earlier, but we have a script. And I got to play out that script. I have to play out that script until I can change the script. And that's what I've done with all those words.
And you've also changed the script for your life.
For sure.
You've written one book, you've got another one on the way.
3 more.
And 3 more on the way. And then you also have Denali FSP and Evolution.
Yeah, Evolution, Ken Miller's Speed. I have 4.
Can you tell us more about what you do and just what you've been able to create in this other phase of life?
So I have a company called Denali FSP, and what we predominantly do is I am a fundraising coach for nonprofits. And then our specialty is we write grants for tribes. Written probably $100 million worth of grants. I know I did one grant, it was $37 million alone. But that's what we do. I have 4 employees and we write grants for tribes. My wife's Alaska Native and she's been doing it for 26 years, but I told her this year was the year I was going to try to retire her. That's what I'm trying to do right now, is retire her. So she's wintering down. I still pretty much keep a load. Just working on a grant earlier before I got on this call. But anyway, so that's what I do. And then I consult and I teach all over the country on fundraising. Anybody looking for a good teacher, because I'm trained, I teach the teachers that teach this. I do what's called Faculty Training Academy. So I teach that course and then I teach on direct mail and online digital. Then I have another company called Evolution. And that is a company that has offshore virtual assistants that are trained in AI. I love AI. Let me say it one more time. I love AI. And I want to say one of the reasons why I love AI. I love AI. AI does not care that I'm a 3-time ex-con or ex-felon. Doesn't care. Doesn't care I'm Black. Doesn't care I'm 62 years old. AI does not care. It can even the playing field in so many areas if you avail yourself of it. But you got to get the teaching. You got to learn it. And I have in depth. So I have a company of virtual assistants that many companies are using that are based in Ecuador and in the Philippines. And they're all trained in AI. I send them to school. They can't go out. until they've done their schooling, which takes probably about a month, but they do their schooling. And then I have a company that writes books, and which I have 4 books, 3 more. I'm writing a book on respect and disrespect. I'm writing a book on pragmatic fundraising, and I'm writing a book on mentoring in communities of color. Those are the 3 that are coming out this year, on top of the biography or memoir. It's really a memoir called Becoming Ken. And then I have the company Ken Miller Speaks, and that's where I go around and I do my speaking opportunities throughout the country. I'm hoping to go international. Haven't done it yet. I'm hoping.
What have been some of your favorite speaking engagements?
Oh, man, I get so many of them. So I'll do like a smaller one is I went into the youth prison in Anchorage, Alaska, and I talked to their level 1 inmates. It's their quote unquote worst of the worst. I'm talking, this is the ones, that's how they started. But I'm telling you, 10, 15 minutes into it, I told them a couple of my bona fides and they perked up. And my goal, it was probably 15. My goal was to have 1 or 2 hear me. God, if he can overcome the violence that he had as a child, if he can overcome being a foster child, if he can overcome 3 times in the penitentiary, because most of these kids are not getting out till 18, and then they may have to go to an adult, but usually they'll get out no matter what they've done. But they're in there from 11 to 18 or 12 or 16 to 18, whatever it may be. That's my goal. And when I saw the light come on, and all I wanted, they were interested and they were listening and they asked questions. That was one of my favorite. Another one I did, and I had to work on this, 'cause I spoke and I looked around into the audience and it was like 3 women crying. Because I didn't mean to do that. And I found out what happened later. Me telling stories brought back, even though I didn't ask them to go there, brought back maybe memories of situations that had happened to them. And in fact, I did have, after one time I talked, because I always have a line of people that want to meet me and talk to me, say, hey, do you mind? Can we talk about something? And I said, sure, let me finish the line. And then let's just out in the safe area or whatever, in the corridor here at the conference, and let's talk. It was gave her, remember I said, taking away that power of the secret. And she shared some things that had happened to her in college. And I listened and I said, hey, thank you for sharing that. And I hope this has given you some quote unquote relief because you brought it into the light. And my recommendation is to maybe speak to someone else, a woman. I've had some similar experience, but hers was a little different. So that was the people, obviously, they clap and they give you these accolades. It feels good. I just want to know, was I a value added? That's my job. And part of it is to entertain. If I'm a keynote, and then I teach. I've seen the results of people I've taught. I had people I've taught 10 years ago. Hey, you probably don't remember me, but I took your class and I used this for direct mail. I'm talking over this. This is the field. I'm like, this is the funny one. I get people coming to me all the time. Hey, do you remember me? I heard you speak like 7 years ago. And I'm like, there was 300 people. No, I don't. But tell me more. What was I talking about? I remember you. Yeah, I was probably the only black guy speaking at the conference.
So, as a keynote, what is your process for
Okay.
and do you change it for the different audiences that you might be interacting with?
Yes and no. So let me just tell you about speaking real quick. In my book, and I have a big thing. I usually bifurcate things. I just put them into 2 buckets. And speaking is, to me, only 2 things: stagecraft and the business of speaking. Because it's a business if you so choose to be a paid speaker. And then there's stagecraft. How do you present? And I'm not going to go into stagecraft. I'm not really going to go into the business. What I do know is how do you Because a lot of people have this difficulty is that they don't have a keynote speech. You should have a keynote. So mine is resilience in the face of the known and the unknown. It's the same one I give, but I do attempt to tailor to the audience and tailor to the time, because sometimes I'll be giving 75 minutes. Sometimes it may be 45 minutes or it'll be 60 minutes. Okay. On a keynote, could be up to an hour and a half on a keynote, but usually it's 60 or 75, at least the ones I do. And then to create your keynote, what are you trying to say? Okay. What are you trying to get apart? Or what information that I had to deliver is going to be a value added to the people I'm speaking to? And then 100% AI. Ask AI to create the outline. And then you got to fill in. But I think the outline, because there's different parts to I could tell you it right now, but there's like 5 major parts to the speech. But I have the outline, and then it's for me to fill in the outline that's been built. And I use AI. And then the other one is real key is you need to title it well, because it needs to be something that's a little catchy. And then for me, and one of my keys is before I go on, I pray. I just pray. And once I do that, I'm cool. I love to talk. So you may not notice that, but I'm very comfortable. And it was so funny because I didn't know I would have this skill and skill set. And I love to teach. I love both of them. I love talking and teaching. And they're different. There's breakouts and there's plenaries / keynotes.
Yeah, I find that for myself, I do a lot better when I can interact with the audience and feed off of whatever it is that they're providing to me. It's why I like going live so much on social media, because it's that instantaneous feedback. I'm delivering something to you that you need right now in this moment because you asked me a direct question. And I can monologue on a whole bunch of stuff just because one of those kids that grew up as a multi-potentialite, right? It's just always had my hands in different things and good at a lot of stuff, not great at any one particular thing, but it gives you access to a bunch of different information because your area of interest is so vast. And of course, that helps a lot of people in a lot of different ways when you can do that.
I've been riffing on that lately about greatness. I don't want to be great in anything.
Yeah.
I want to be good, because for me to be great, I don't have the capacity and time to be great any longer. And I'd rather spend that time with my grandkids. I'm good in a lot of things. I'm very good in a few, but and I'd love the books, Good to Great. I've read them all, the Collins, great books, but I don't even want to be great. And I've been talking to guys about, let's maybe get away from the greatness. Let's get good. Let's get really good. Let's be value added. And then let's take that extra time, because I'm not spending all my time trying to be great. And let's spend that with our wives and our family. And
that desire to be great can often stop you from being good.
Perfect. If we look at great, and I'm not saying they're the same word, but that sense of perfection. One of the most difficult things for individuals writing a book is getting started. Okay. I gotta get everything in place. I gotta have a great title, and I gotta do this. I gotta take another class on how to write books or whatever. And same thing in speaking. You'll see this. People go to spend all this money on coaches. And my strong suggestion to you is just find a speaking and do them. And then tape it, have someone just put up their iPhone, tape it, and then look at it later on. And you can, I'll reach out. You can reach out to me. I'll look at it and I can give you some feedback. And then join NSA, National Speakers Association. That's 100%. I recommend that. If you want to speak and you want to get paid on, and you can make a lot of money in speaking.
That's what I keep hearing.
It's truth. It's truth. I know them. I'm not the one. I might make 40. I make a lot of money for my businesses, and I've been blessed. But I might do 40, 50,000 in speaking, which to me is not a lot of money, but I do it because I love it. Plus, they pay usually for your room and board a lot of times you travel. So I can,
And you're speaking, you're sharing a message that's important to you that you know is going to be impactful to others.
and I'll be honest with you. Let me just say one more. I'll be honest with you, especially in my field of fundraising. One of the reasons I speak is I want other people of color to see a black man speak from the stage. Because when I got into fundraising, there were none. There were no black men speaking from the stage or teaching. And so I said, I got a problem with that. And so now what I do is I teach, I'm a model, and then now I'm bringing along that next generation of people of color to be on that stage and speak. That was important to me.
It's so interesting because I think a lot of people stop themselves from doing the things that they know that they're capable of doing because they have this limiting core belief that that's not for me. I can't do that. I've experienced it myself. And each time that I've pushed through that barrier, I've come across on the other side of, oh, I can do that and more. You're just like, holy smokes. Let's see how far if I can go here, let's see how much further I can go. But we get stuck in that thought process. That's not for me. I can't do this. I'm not capable, or I'm not enough.
I'm not competent. I'm not competent. It isn't a function of self-esteem. It's called self-efficacy. And what it means is I'm competent in my decision making. And so what we do is we'd rather have fear of doing something and not being seen as competent internally or externally than we'll keep procrastinating or we'll keep putting off or just keep it as a thought in our head. And that's one of the things that when I'm working with guys, I'm somewhat big on. Let's get past the talk and let's do. Let's get to the action step and let's begin the process, because a lot of time, once you put pen to paper or you put fingers to the keyboard or whatever you're going to do, the action, that is the catalyst that'll get you. But as long as you leave it up here, it's just another thought that's running through the brain. Unfortunately, I have 2 more minutes and I have another meeting. This has been great.
I think for a lot of people, they have this idea that I prefer the hope. I love being able to hope about the future. So I don't want to actually accomplish or attain what it is that's a potential in front of me because I enjoy the hope. And if I go for the dream, if I go for the goal, if I make it happen or I strive for it and I fail, then what? Then who am I without any of that?
Yeah. Hey, you talk about fear of failure. I always talk about fear of success. I always say to people, I can tell more about your self-esteem by how you take a compliment than by how you take a criticism. If you try to deflect an accolade, a flower, a positive, a praise, that tells me about your self-esteem. I get accolades, not all the time, but I get them because I do a lot of positive things. And I'm like, thank you. I'm like, cool. I'm glad you felt that way. But you tell a person with low self-esteem, man, they will do everything in their power to deflect it, to diminish it or downgrade it, because that's not their self-evaluation. That's not how they see themselves. They see themselves as not competent or less than or an imposter.
Ken, I can't thank you enough for spending time with us today. Tell everybody how to reach you and find you.
If you'd like to reach me, and anybody can contact me, it's Ken Miller 84 is my LinkedIn handle. Let's go to LinkedIn, type in Ken Miller 84, or go to the website, which is Denali Fundraising, and you'll get to, or Abeolution, and you'll see me on there. You can contact me through the website.
Awesome. Ken, thank you so much.
Thank you.